I killed my best friend last Tuesday. Not with a gun or a knife. Nothing so clean and cinematic, but by whispering a single truth into her ear while she lay paralyzed on the cold tile of her own penthouse bathroom. Her empire crumbling around her like the lies she'd built it on. She begged me to stop, tears streaming down that perfect, Botox-smooth face. But mercy? That's for people who haven't watched their entire world get ripped away and stitched onto someone else's skin. And as her pulse faded under my fingers, I realized the real revenge wasn't in her death. It was in making her feel, for one goddamn second, what it was like to be erased. It started with Grandpa Harlan's ramblings, those fractured loops of words that looped tighter than a noose in the quiet hours of the dementia ward. Jack Harlan. He took it all, he'd mutter, his gnarled hands twisting the bedsheets like he was trying to wring out the years. I'd visit every Sunday after church, hypocrite that I was, skipping the sermons for the sake of showing up with a styrofoam cup of black coffee from the Tim Hortons knockoff down the block. Harlan's home for the golden years, they called it, tucked in the Rust Belt armpit of Cleveland, Ohio, where the steel mills had long since rusted into ghost towns, and folks like Grandpa rotted away on Medicaid dime. I was Emily Harlan back then, 32, fresh off a divorce that left me with a cat named Whiskey and a closet full of tailor suits that no longer fit my life. Corporate drone by day, wrangling Excel spreadsheets for a mid-tier insurance firm, amateur sleuth by night, because that's what you become when your family skeletons start rattling louder than the L train rumbling past your walk-up. Grandpa and I were the last Harlan standing. Mom OD'd on fentanyl when I was 12. Dad vanished into the ether of bad investments and worse poker hands when I was 6. So it was just us, bound by blood that ran thinner than the broth they served at Harlan's. That Sunday, the air hung heavy with the scent of institutional Lysol and overcooked peas. Grandpa's room was a shoebox, peeling wallpaper the color of faded dreams, a crucifix nailed crooked above the bed, and that damn photo on the nightstand, a black and white snapshot of a boy in short pants, grinning toothless at the camera, arms slung around a man who looked like an older, harder version of Dad. "Who's Jack?" "Grandpa," I asked. Same as always, settling into the vinyl chair that wheezed like it was on its last breath. His eyes, milky blue and shot through with veins, locked onto mine for the first time in months. "Jack stole my skin, Emmy. Wore it like a suit. You gotta get it back." Then he laughed, a wet, hacking sound that dissolved into coughs, and the moment shattered. Nurses bustled in, cooing about meds and bedpans, and I left with that name burning a hole in my pocket like a bad lottery ticket. Jack Harlan. It should have been a dead end. Grandpa's middle name was Jack. After all, a tribute to some great uncle who died in Korea, but something gnawed at me on the drive home. The Ohio Turnpike stretching out like a gray vein under thunderheads. I Googled it over takeout, lo mein, feet propped on my coffee table scarred from too many late-night wine spills. Jack Harlan, real estate mogul, Forbes 400 wannabe, headquartered in a glass monolith downtown that screamed new money from its lobby fountain. Net worth, $2.7 billion. Philanthropist to the arts, donor to the Republican machine, married to a former Miss Ohio who looked like she'd been assembled in a lab. And there, buried in a 1987 Cleveland Plain dealer archive, local boy makes good, Jack Harlan, 28, inherits family fortune after tragic mill fire claims father. Inherited. But Grandpa Harlan, real name Elias Harlan, had been the one in that fire. I'd seen the scars myself. Puckered white rivers snaking up his forearms from the blast that gutted the old steelworks. Elias survived, barely, emerging from the ICU with third-degree burns and a lifetime supply of oxy that eventually fried his liver. But Jack Harlan was born the same year as Dad, 1959, listed as Elias's only son. Except Grandpa had two boys, Dad, Thomas,
and
Jack. No records, no birth certs, nothing but whispers and family Bibles I'd pawned years ago for rent. By midnight, I was deep in the rabbit hole, chasing digital ghosts on Ancestry.com and leaked PAC filings. Jack's bio was a masterpiece of omission, bootstraps from the wrong side of the Cuyahoga. A self-made titan who'd clawed his way up from nothing. But the photos, the photos told a different story. Jack at 25, shaking hands with Reagan at some rubber chicken fundraiser. His smile too wide, eyes too sharp. And there, in the background of a grainy society page shot from '89, Grandpa, thinner than, holding a tray of hors d'oeuvres like a ghost at his own wake. The pieces didn't fit, but they itched. I called in sick Monday, nursed a pot of Folgers, and drove to the county clerk's office, bluffing my way through microfiche reels until I hit pay dirt, a sealed adoption record, expunged under Ohio's old privacy laws. Jack Harlan wasn't born a Harlan. He was Jack Ellis, orphaned ward of the state, placed with Elias in '62 after a routine fostering. Routine my ass. Grandpa had never mentioned a foster kid. Hell, he'd barely mentioned Dad without tearing up. That night, dreams came in flashes, skin peeling like wallpaper. A boy's face melting into Grandpa's. Laughter echoing from a mill furnace. I woke sweating, Whiskey's judgmental green eyes staring from the footboard. By dawn, I'd booked a red-eye to Chicago. Jack's empire had tentacles there. A shell company called Phenom Properties that funneled cash into experimental wellness retreats. Wellness. The word slithered in my gut like bad sushi. Chicago hit me like a wet slap, wind off the lake carving through my coat, the loop a neon scar against the pre-dawn sky. I checked into a Holiday Inn knockoff near O'Hare, the kind with threadbare carpets and a Bible in every drawer. Then Uber downtown to Phenom's HQ. The lobby was a cathedral of marble and malice, abstract sculptures that looked like twisted spines, receptionists with earpieces and smiles sharp as switchblades. Appointment, the gatekeeper purred, her nails clicking on a tablet. Emily Harlan, I said, channeling every Karen I'd ever despised. Tell Mr. Harlan his brother's granddaughter is here to discuss family business. Her eyes flickered, recognition? Fear. But she buzzed me up. Elevator ride, 60 floors of Muzak hell. My reflection in the mirrored walls looking like a woman who'd forgotten to sleep.
Ding. Bon tout de suite.
All glass walls and Eames knockoffs. Jack Harlan holding court behind a desk the size of a Buick. He was 70 now, but time had been kind in the way only money can be, silver fox hair, jawline sculpted by discreet scalpels, a tan that screamed Hampton's yacht. Emily, he drawled, voice like aged bourbon over gravel, standing to clasp my hand.
Warm.
Firm, too perfect. Elias's girl. It's been.
What?
20 years?
Seat.
Scotch. No thanks. I perched on the leather chair, legs crossed like I own the place. Grandpa's dying.
Jack.
Keep saying your name. Something about stealing his skin. His laugh was a bark, genuine enough to curdle milk. Old man's mind's gone. Sweetheart. Dementia does that, turns fairy tales into facts. Elias was always dramatic. The fire, fried more than his arms. He leaned back. Steepling fingers ringed with gold that could have bought my building. What do you really want?
Money?
Harlan's got deep pockets for family. I slid the photocopied adoption file across the desk. This says you're not family. Ellis. Not Harlan. What happened in 62? Why'd Grandpa take you in, and why'd you bury it? Jack's mask didn't crack, but his eyes did a flicker. Cold as Lake Michigan in January. Ancient history. I was a scrawny foster kid. Elias needed help around the mill after the war. He gave me a name, a future. I paid it back, built this. He swept an arm at the skyline. Chicago sprawling like a conquered kingdom. Elias got the burns. I got the brains. Fair trade. Fair. The word tasted like ash. He lost Dad in that fire too, Thomas. My father. Burned beyond recognition.
They said. But you.
You walked away unscathed. And now you're Jack Harlan. While Grandpa rots in a home named after him like some cruel joke. He poured that scotch anyway. Neat. And slid it my way.
Drink.
You'll need it. Then, casual as commenting on the weather, Thomas didn't die in the fire. Emily. I did. The room tilted. I gripped the glass, the liquor burning a path to my stomach. What? Body swap, he said, like ordering room service. Not magic, science. Elias's pet project. Back when the mill had a lab funded by some black-budget DoD grant. Neural mapping. Cryogenics. The works. They were chasing immortality for the brass, uploading mines, swapping shells. Thomas and I. We were the prototypes. Kids. Resilient. The fire was the test, controlled burn to simulate trauma. My body took the hit, fried to charcoal. But my mind slipped into Thomas's skin like a hand in a glove. Elias pulled the switch. Saved me. Lost his real son. Betrayal hit like a freight train. Grandpa, my rock. The man who'd bandaged my knees and told bedtime stories of steel nights, had traded his blood for a stranger?
Why?
For what? Money, Jack said, shrugging. The grant was a fortune. But the DoD pulled funding after the ethics board got wind. Elias burned the lab to cover tracks. Ironic.
Huh?
I became Jack Harlan to launder the cash. Build the empire. Your grandpa? He carried the guilt. Raised me as his own until I bolted at 18. Dementia, just. Loosen the tongue. I stood. Chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. You stole his life. My life. Everything. Or I gave him one, Jack countered, rising slow, towering in his bespoke suit. Elias would have drunk himself dead without that fire. I made him a hero, survivor, patriarch. You're welcome. I left with the file and a nausea that wouldn't quit. The elevator plummeting like my world. Back in the room, I puked up the scotch and my illusions, then started digging deeper. Phenom properties, not just real estate, but fronts for black market biotech. Leaked emails from a whistleblower site, Jack funding underground clinics. Transference therapies for the ultra-rich. Body swaps. Mind uploads. The elite cheating death. One stolen shell at a time. And there, in a redacted patient log, Emily Harlan, age 8. Admitted for routine neural calibration after mom's overdose. I'd blacked out that day. Woke up in the hospital with a headache like God's hangover. bruises on my arms from the fall. But Mom hadn't OD'd alone. She'd been experimenting, stealing phenom samples from Jack's early trials. The calibration? It swapped fragments, memories, maybe more. Not full bodies, but echoes. That's why my dreams always felt borrowed. Why I craved Dad's old mill stories I never heard. Jack hadn't just stolen Grandpa's life. He'd chipped away at mine, too, programming me as the dutiful granddaughter, the insurance drone who'd never questioned the Harlan name. The betrayal sank hooks deep. Grandpa. Complicit, Jack. The puppeteer, me. The unwitting pawn bearing Mom's mistake, her theft, my erasure. By week 2, I was all in. I quit my job via email, liquidated my 401k for a stakeout van, and tailed Jack's convoy to a retreat in the Wisconsin Dells, sprawling compound masked as a spa, ringed by razor wire and NDAs. Infiltrating was easy. Forged resume as a grief counselor, slipping past security with a smile and a sob story. Inside, marble halls echoing with whispers, clients in white robes shuffling like zombies, eyes vacant post-procedure. I met her on day 3, Lydia Voss, Jack's right hand, his Miss Ohio turned enforcer. Blonde, lethal in Lululemon, with a Harvard MBA and a concealed carry permit. New girl, she purred, cornering me in the steam room, towel slung low. Jack mentioned a Harlan pest. Careful. Emily, family reunions can get messy. Lydia was the blade to Jack's boardroom. She'd been swapped twice, once for youth, once for enhanced cognition. Her original shell, a trailer park nobody from Toledo, traded up like a used Lexus. Betrayal? She wore it like perfume. Jack gave me wings, she confessed over herbal tea, steam curling like secrets. You think you're the victim? Try waking up in a body that doesn't fit. Memories bleeding like bad ink. I earned this. But cracks showed, a tremor in her hand, nightmares she dosed with Phenom's custom benzos. The swaps aren't clean, she admitted one night, after too much Cabernet in the staff lounge. Echoes linger. Your grandpa's guilt? It's in Jack now. Festering.
And you.
That calibration at 8? It wired you wrong. Made you soft.
Soft.
The word ignited something feral. I started small. Dosed Lydia's tea with a microdose of scopolamine, truth serum light. Swiped from the med cart. She spilled. The inner circle. The next big swap. Jack prepping for a full upload into a cloned 20-something. Funded by Russian oligarchs. And the secret. Grandpa hadn't volunteered the fire. Jack, as a teen prodigy, rigged the lab demo to force the grant payout, dooming Thomas meant for me the spare Harlan heir. That night, under Adele's moon bloated like a tumor, I made my first controversial call. Lydia, half-drugged and rambling, reached for her phone. I snapped her wrist, clean break. No screams thanks to the chems, and zip-tied her to the sauna bench. Tell Jack I'm coming, I whispered, carving a shallow H into her thigh with a sterilized scalpel from the kit. Not deep enough for scars. Just enough for memory. Harlan blood runs thick. She laughed through tears. You're just like him, Emily. The thief in sheep's clothing. I drove south, van humming through the dark, plotting the endgame. Jack's penthouse gala, black tie fundraiser for neural innovation, A-listers and senators rubbing elbows with the undead. I crashed it as myself. Thrift store gown cinched tight, hair pinned like armor, a Phenom Insider badge lifted from Lydia's purse. The ballroom pulsed with jazz and avarice. Chandeliers dripping light like melting gold. Jack held court by the bar. Lydia at his elbow, wrist braced, eyes promising hell. He spotted me across the room. Smile freezing mid-charm. Emily. Bold. Truth or dare? Uncle Jack, I said, voice steady as the bourbon I nursed. Guests milled oblivious. Caviar pearls popping like tiny lies. He steered me to a balcony. City lights winking below like conspirators. Wind whipped my skirt. Lydia flanked us. Silent venom. You dosed her. Classy. Family tradition. I pulled the drive, hacked from Phenom servers. Dossiers on every swap, senators in starlit bodies, CEOs in athlete shells, the elite's carousel of stolen lives. This goes public. Your empire's ash. But I'm not here for headlines. I want my skin back. He chuckled, low and loaded. Skins don't return.
Girl.
Once swapped. You're remixed. That calibration? It grafted my echoes into you. Ambition. Ruthlessness. You're more Harlan than Elias ever was. Lies. Or half-truths. My head throbbed. Memories flashing, not mine, but borrowed, a mill fire from inside. Screams that weren't Dad's. The controversial decision loomed. Mercy? Or mirror? I could have walked. Leaked the files. Let the courts grind him. But courts don't unswap souls. Instead, I nodded to Lydia. She'd been my plant flipped by the dose, hungering for her original self. She jabbed the syringe into Jack's neck, Phenom's prototype reversal serum, unstable as nitroglycerin. His eyes bulged, body convulsing as neural pathways unraveled.
What?
Emmy, getting it back, I hissed, holding him as he slumped, skin paling like old newsprint. Lydia worked fast, laptop tethered to a black market neural rig, uploading the echoes, Jack's mind fracturing, Thomas's resurfacing in flickers. Agony etched his face, not mine, but ours. He flatlined at 2:17 a.m. Monitors beeping elegy in the penthouse med bay we'd commandeered. Lydia slipped away into the night, her debt paid, her body hers again in fragments. I sat vigil, fingers tracing the scars on his grandpa's arms. The fire's legacy. Dawn broke gray over the lake. Cops swarming the tower on an anonymous tip. I walked out clean, drive encrypted and mailed to a DOJ contact I'd greased via dark web forums. The headlines would scream scandal. Harlan Ayre's biotech suicide pact. Echoes of stolen lives. Back in Cleveland, Grandpa's room smelled of fresh sheets. His eyes cleared as I entered. The ramblings silenced. Emmy, he rasped, gripping my hand. Jack's gone.
Yeah. Grandpa.
He's gone. He nodded, tears carving tracks in the wrinkles. Took too long. But you got the skin back. I smiled.
Hollow.
The swap's echoes lingered in me, ambition's sharp edge, ruthlessness's whisper. Was I Emily Harlan, or Jack's ghost in her shell? The files leaked. Empires toppled. But the real twist gnawed. Grandpa had known all along. Whispered the name, not in dementia, but design. To arm me. To make me the avenger. We buried Jack under a Harlan stone. The plot beside Dad's, Thomas's, empty grave. I sold the cat, packed the suits, and headed west. Hollywood. Maybe screenplays about stolen lives sell big. Or DC. Lobbying for swap bans. Controversial choices. All of them. But as the miles blurred, one truth stuck. Revenge isn't a knot untied. It's a new skin, worn raw and reluctant, waiting for the next fire. The road to L.A. was a blacktop confessional. 18 wheels of regret humming under me as I gripped the wheel of a rented Ford Escape. Whiskey's carrier mewling from the passenger seat. I'd wired the last of my severance to a bail bondsman, insurance against the fallout, and ditched my phone for a burner bought at a pilot truck stop outside Toledo. Static on the radio spat classic rock anthems. Springsteen's gravel growl about Born to Run ghosts mirroring my own. Was I fleeing justice? Or chasing the Harlan I'd never been? Jack's death, suicide. The coroner ruled, laced with enough phenom chems to choke a horse, had cracked the dam. By Gary. Indiana. The story broke, CNN ticker screaming, billionaire's dark secret, mind swap scandal rocks elite. Leaked docs painted phenom as Frankenstein's lab on steroids. Clients named in whispers, senators denying enhanced therapies, starlets blushing at youth treatments.
Jack.
The fallen king. His obit a hatchet job. From mill boy to mind thief. Lydia vanished like smoke. But her ghost texted the burner. Echoes fade. But scars sing. Watch your back. Harlan. I deleted it. But sleep evaded me in motel pits along I-80. Dreams splicing Jack's memories into mine. Boardroom conquests bleeding into mill floor drudgery. A boy's terror in flames morphing into my 8-year-old blackout. The controversial core. Had I killed the monster? Or euthanized the man who'd built my cage? Vegas hit at dusk. Neon veins pulsing against the desert's throat. I holed up at the Flamingo. Comped a room with a fake celeb alias, Emily Voss. Nod to Lydia's origins, and hit the table's low stakes. Blackjack as therapy. The pit boss. A ex-cop named Rico, with tattoos snaking up his neck. Clocked me early. You got runner's eyes. Sweetheart. Harlan mess. I folded my cards. Met his gaze. What do you know? He slid onto the stool beside me. Breath minty, with skepticism. Enough. My sister's a nurse at Phenom's Reno outpost. Saw the swaps, rich fucks trading husks like Pokemon. Your uncle? He tried poaching her for a premium transfer. Offered immortality. Got a knee to the nuts. Rico became my Virgil through the underbelly, underground forums where swap survivors swapped war stories. Black market neural dampeners peddled from strip mall basements. The reversal he warned over greasy diner eggs. It don't stick. Echoes rebound, like PTSD on steroids. Jackson you now.
Chica.
Ambitions a virus. He was right. By Barstow. I itched for more than escape. A contact from Rico's web, Dr. Mira Kane. Ex-Phenom ethicist. Exiled to a Bakersfield clinic peddling Botox to housewives. She met me in a strip mall office reeking of formaldehyde. Her face a roadmap of botched lifts, irony's cruel wink. Emily Harlan, she said.
No hands, Jack.
Just a nod to the exam chair. The Avenger.
Seek.
Let's see the damage. Scans hummed. Electrodes kissing my temples like cold lovers. Myra's verdict. Fragmented graft. Jack's neural imprint, 15%. Clustered in the prefrontal. Explains the drive. The ruthlessness. Your calibration at 8 was a patch job. Mom's theft triggered a cascade. You bore her crime, the overdose pinned as suicide. But it was rejection. Her body fought the swap echo. Fried her synapses.
Mom.
The ghost died buried with Valium and therapy bills. Can you excise it? Myra's laugh was bitter chicory. Excise? This ain't lipo. Reversal risks cascade failure, personality wipe, vegetative state. Jack chose death over dilution.
You?
Your Harlan Prime now, Elias's grit, Thomas's fire, Jack's cunning. Weaponized. Weaponized. The word lit a fuse. I left with a dampener implant, tiny chip behind my ear, buzzing Jack's whispers to static, and a lead, Phenom's crown jewel. A Silicon Valley vault holding the original neural vaults. Jack's backups. Elite client souls in stasis. Ripe for ransom or ruin. L.A. Swallowed me whole. Palm-lined freeways choked with Teslas. Air thick as ambition smog. I crashed on a cousin's couch in Echo Park, distant Harlan Branch. Oblivious to the rot. And went corporate guerrilla. Day job. Barista at a hipster roastery. Slinging oat milk lattes to influencers who wouldn't know real pain if it vlogged them. Nights. Hacking Phenom's remnants via Rico's dark web Rolodex. Phishing execs with deepfakes of Jack's voice promising legacy transfers. The vault raid was pure Hollywood heist. Minus the glamour. Me in black tactical from an army surplus in Van Nuys. Grappling hook and EMP pulse from Myra's black bag. Security. Lax post-scandal. Guards more bored than vigilant. I scaled the perimeter fence under a supermoon. Heart hammering like a bass drop. Jack's echo urging higher. Harder until the dampener hummed it mute. Inside, sterile corridors lit by biolum strips. Humming servers like mechanical hives. The vault door, retina scan. Voice off, yielded to Myra's override code. Whispered over burner call. Air inside. Cryogenic chill. Rows of pods glowing faint blue. Labels etched in frost. Voss.
L.
Alpha transfer. Harlan.
J.
Prime echo. Harlan.
E.
T. Beta shell. Grandpa's dad's mind. Archived like a forgotten hard drive. I jacked in. Laptop whirring. Downloading the core. Terabytes of stolen selves. But the twist lurked in the metadata. Not just echoes. But contingencies. Jack hadn't stolen Grandpa's life. He'd saved it. The fire? Elias's suicide bid. Rigged to look accidental. A desperate ploy to end the pain of Mom's looming addiction. The mill's collapse.
Jack.
The foster prodigy. Swapped Thomas's mind into a blank slate clone me. Engineered in Phenom's beta lab as the vessel. Emily wasn't Elias's granddaughter. She was Thomas's echo. Reborn to carry the Harlan name unscarred. The download stuttered. Alarms wailing soft as a siren's tease. I yanked the drive. Bolted for the extract, service ducked to the loading bay, but guards swarmed. Tasers crackling. Controversial call, too. I didn't run clean. Dropped a smoke grenade.
Avtrydd fogbloming.
Then fired a tranq dart into the lead goon's thigh. He crumpled, eyes rolling, and I felt Jack's thrill surge, predator's high, dampener failing. Out in the salt flats, lungs burning, I ditched the gear and hot-wired a maintenance jeep, peeling east as choppers thumped the horizon. The drive home, files burning a hole in my satchel, truth of venom in my veins. Emily Harlan. The spare, no. The replacement. Grandpa's ramblings? Not dementia, but confession, guiding me to unmake the lie. Cleveland welcomed me with autumn bite, leaves carpeting the streets like bloodied confetti. Harlan's home loomed, its sign mocking, Elias Harlan Memorial Wing. Grandpa's room, monitors beeping steady. His frame shrunken but eyes sharp. Emmy. You found it. I plugged in the laptop. Vault files blooming on screen. The swap. The clone.
Me.
He wept then, shoulders shaking. Thomas. You were my boy. Remade. The fire took the original shell. Jack saved the mind. I couldn't lose you both. But the guilt. It ate me. Jack promised clean, but the echoes twisted him. Power corrupts the code. Girl. Betrayal layered like onion skin. Grandpa's love a Frankenstein stitch. Holding me together with lies. Why not tell me? Fear, he rasped. You'd hate me. Or worse, become him. Too late. The implant buzzed constant now. Jack's voice's sibilant undercurrent. Finish it. Build bigger. I silenced it with Myra's emergency protocol, self-lobotomy light. Frying the graft but scorching empathy circuits. Collateral, blackouts. Rages. A hunger for more. The climax brewed in D.C. Phenom's lobbyists circling like sharks in Brooks Brothers. I flew coach, armed with files and a ghostwriter from a Times op-ed mill. Testimony before the Senate Health Committee, me, prim in a sheath dress, laying bare the swaps, stolen lives, the elite's immortality Ponzi. Senators squirmed, donors dialing damage control. Lydia surfaced as my shadow witness, her scars a badge, testifying in a whisper. We traded souls for status. Emily gave them back, but power's a hydra. Post-hearing. A tail. Black SUV.
Tinted menace.
They cornered me in a Georgetown alley. Rain sluicing gutters like tears. 3 suits. Phenom holdouts, execs with kill switches in their dampeners. Hand over the vaults. Harlan. Or join Jack. Fight or fold. I chose controversy. Drew the concealed .38 Rico had slipped me, Vegas insurance, and dropped 2 with gut shots. Non-lethal but screaming. The third lunged. I sidestepped. Cracked his knee with the butt. Then zip-tied him to a dumpster. Tell your bosses. Echoes end here. Sirens wailed. I melted into the downpour. Files uploaded to WikiLeaks mid-stride. The empire imploded. Arrests. Asset freezes. Phenom stock cratering like a bad acid trip. Grandpa passed a week later. Peaceful. His last words. Wear it well. Thomas. Winter clamped Cleveland in iron jaws. Snowplows growling like beasts through the dawn as I stood graveside. Wind knifing through my wool coat. Grandpa's plot nestled beside the empty Harlan marker, Thomas's. Forever unmarked. A void I'd filled with borrowed bones. The service was sparse. Second cousins I'd ghosted. A minister droning platitudes about eternal rest. I scattered dirt. Felt the weight settle, not closure, but a new chain. The vault's release was biblical reckoning, front pages ablaze with soul swap scandal, the 1% as stolen second chances. Clients outed, cabinet secretaries in swapped shells, tech bros reborn as supermodels, sparked riots at Davos knockoffs. Ethics probes devouring Capitol Hill. Lydia cashed in on a Netflix doc, her face pixelated but voice raw. Emily Harlan didn't just expose us, she freed us.
Me?
I dodged the spotlight. Holed up in a Lake Erie cabin Grandpa willed me. Vites papered in yellowed mill blueprints. Whiskey prowling the rafters like a sentinel. But freedom's a fickle bitch. The dampeners fry left scars, migraines that painted auras in Jack's ledger scrawls. Blackouts where I'd wake with outlines of heist plans sketched on napkins. Ambition gnawed. A Harlan heirloom. I started small, a consultancy, neural ethics advisors, auditing core for swap taint.
Client, paranoia VCS.
Ex-phenom whistleblowers seeking absolution. Fees bought solar panels. A slipkeel sloop for lake runs. But the real pay was power's whisper. Leverage it. Build. Controversial Decision 3. Mercy's Mirror. A lead surfaced, Mira Kane, nabbed in a phenom cleanup sweep, facing RICO charges in federal lockup. I visited her in a Virginia gray bar hotel, plexiglass between us. Her face gaunt, but eyes alight. You won, Emily or Thomas, or whoever the hell you are now. Call me Harlan. I press the intercom. Testify clean. I'll pull strings, house arrest, immunity. She leaned close, breath fogging the divider.
Why?
I built the beast. Because echoes rebound. I slid a thumb drive under the slot, her original neural map. Salvaged from the vaults. Reverse for real this time. Be Mira again. She took it, fingers trembling. And you? What's your endgame?
Debate, I said.
Make em argue if I saved souls or damn them. Out in the free world. The debates raged, op-eds decrying me as vigilante angel. Fox panels branding me eco-terrorist kin to Snowden. Protests clogged Silicon Valley. Echo justice trending with memes of Jack as Pinocchio. Strings to DoD puppets. I fan the flames, anonymous drops to podcasters. A ghost-ridden manifesto in The Atlantic. The body politic. Why swaps are the new slavery. Readers split. Half hailed the takedown. Half held about innovation's curb stomp. The poor locked out of godhood while elites foot the bill. Lydia called from a Malibu redoubt. Voice husky with post-fame static. You're trending. Harlan. TED Talk offers pouring in. Pass. I sipped black coffee on the porch. Lake ice cracking like gunfire. What's your play now? Book deal. Therapy. Maybe sue the estate. A pause. Heavy as snow. Jack's echoes gone? Mostly.
Lie.
They surfaced in dreams. Boardrooms where I closed deals with a gun under the table. Mirrors reflecting a face that shifted. Elias's jowls. Thomas's grin. Jack's smirk. The clone truth haunted deepest. Emily as vessel. Not victim. Had Grandpa birthed a savior or a sequel? Spring thawed the ice. Brought a visitor, Rico. Vegas leathers traded for a suit that strained at the seams. A briefcase in hand. Feds want you. Chica. Immunity for the full download. Your testimony seals the phenom indictments. I poured him whiskey.
Neat.
What's the catch? He grinned. Teeth gold-flecked. They know about the DC. Allie. 2 in the ICU. One's walking with a limp.
Vigo lies up.
Unless you flip. Controversial to the core. Testify. Become the star witness, safe. Sanitized. A footnote in history books. Or burn it down. Leak the Fed's own swap ties. DoD ghosts in the machine. And vanish as the untouchable phantom. Jack's echo purred burn. Elias's urged build. Thomas's mine. Whispered walk away. I chose the blaze. That night, from the cabin's dial-up relic, I funneled the vault's dregs to every major outlet, proof of congressional swaps. Pentagon pilots in enemy shells. Chaos erupted. Impeachments queued. Markets tanking on neural fraud fears. Rico got his cut, vanishing to Cabo with a wink. Lydia texted bold. Stupid.
Alive.
Mira walked free in the melee. Her reversal, a quiet miracle chronicled in med journals. Summer scorched the lake. Whiskey gone gray at the muzzle.
Hice il solo.
Tacking against winds that carried Grandpa's laugh on the spray. The endgame clarified. No happy veil. No tragic fall, just ambiguity's edge, where readers argue if I reclaimed a life or claimed too many. Betrayal's deep cut? It forged me. Harlan amalgam, avenger. Thief. Echo. One dawn. Horizon bleeding pink. A seaplane skimmed the water, beaching on my dock. Out stepped a ghost. Lydia.
Unigad.
Unscarred. Original shell reclaimed via Myra's final tweak. Fancy a partner, she called, wind tangling her hair. Worlds full of stolen skins. We could redistribute. I furled the sail. Boots crunching gravel. Controversial finale. Join the hunt. Become the monster's better half? Or cut the line? Let the echoes sink? Deal, I said, hand extended. Harlan blood runs thick, thicker in tandem. We launched at noon. Plane roaring lakewood. The cabin shrinking to a speck. Below, Cleveland sprawled, mills reborn as lofts. Secrets buried under progress's gloss. Revenge? A loop. Not a line, hook sunk, line taut. Sinker dropped. Debate me. World, hero, villain, or the gray in between. The engine's drone swallowed doubts. Sky opening wide. Jack's laugh echoed faint, then faded. Mine now, ours, the life we'd stolen back.